Welcome, everyone. We are having a few people joining as we speak, so we're going to hang here for just a minute, and then we will get started. Looks like our participant number has pretty much stayed there for a couple seconds. So Nick, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Nick Wright, and I am the Director of DSPS at Coastline College. Along with the faculty and staff of the Acquired Brain Injury Program, we are so honored to have you join us today. Before we get started with today's event, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items and tell everyone about our media delivery. It is important to note that throughout today's presentation, the acronyms ABI and TBI will be used synonymously when referring to brain injury. The format of today's event is a Zoom webinar. A webinar is a view-only platform where the attendees cannot see each other, and the panelists and the presenters cannot see the attendees. Today's event will broadcast the presenters live, so everyone will be able to see the presenters as they are presenting. Today's webinar will be recorded. Attendees have the following controls available to them. Closed captioning. This event is being captioned in real time. To activate the captioning feature, please click the CC button near the bottom of the screen. Another feature is chat. If you have a question or would like to make a comment, please use the chat box to type your message. Staff members are monitoring the chat and will respond to your message. Now, before passing the mic over to the stars of the show, I'd like to take a moment to provide a brief overview of Coastline's ABI program and explain the purpose of today's event. The ABI program at Coastline College is an educational program designed to provide structured cognitive retraining for adults who have sustained a brain injury due to traumatic or non-traumatic injuries. The ABI program is designed to support individuals as they near completion of their traditional medical rehabilitation, with an emphasis on building and strengthening students' cognitive function, increasing self-awareness, and developing insights about the implications of their injuries. Each year, in recognition of Brain Injury Awareness Month, our ABI program hosts an annual event to raise awareness and educate others about what it is like to live with a brain injury. As such, this year, we decided to have a conversation about brain injury with 5 students from our ABI program. Each student will answer a series of questions provided by our ABI instructors and facilitators of today's session, Michelle Wild and Kim Peterson. As we all know, each of us has a unique story to tell. The stories you will hear today will shed light on the challenges the participants have experienced related to living with their brain injury and how the ABI program has aided in their recovery. With that being said, I proudly pass the mic over to the facilitators and panelists of today's event. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Michelle Wild. I am an instructor in the Acquired Brain Injury Program along with Kim Peterson. And I teach the cognitive component of our ABI program, and Kim teaches our psychosocial component. So thank you very much for joining us today. Brain Injury Awareness Month is March, and we always try to do something to bring awareness to not only the causes of brain injury, but more importantly, I think for our students is the long-term implications of brain injury. And so today we have 5 students who have very graciously volunteered to share a little bit about their stories associated with their brain injury. And they're also going to share a little bit of information about the ABI program and what they're learning in the program and why that is helpful for them in their everyday life. So that being said, I'm going to start with the first question. We have 5 questions. We hope to get through all of them. And so we're going to start with the first question. Rona, everyone is muted, so you can unmute when it's your turn. Rona, we're going to start with you. And the first question is, if you would please briefly describe what caused your injury and how long ago it occurred.
Yes, good morning. In July of 2014, I was on my way home from work. I remember that the freeway was oddly open. So I was thinking, yay, I'm going to get home at a good time. And then out of nowhere, I was hit. I was hit by a drunk driver. And I was told and also read in the police report that when the driver hit me, he was going over 100 miles an hour. So I'm very lucky to be alive, even though I'm dealing with these issues. And I'm grateful to be here in the ABI program at Coastline. And I just remember the doctor telling me, because I couldn't think about how it affected my brain. And he said, just think of your brain like a bowl of Jello or a mold of Jello in a container. Shake it real hard up and down, all around, side to side, open it. That's what's been done to your brain. So it's just been a road, but that's how I sustained my traumatic brain injury.
Thank you for sharing with us, Rona. The next person is going to be Michael. Would you share with us a little bit about your injury?
Yes, excuse me, good morning. In 2008, I was in a very violent auto accident near the Lake Tahoe area in California. And I was coming down and around the mountain and fell asleep at the wheel. And in doing so, I ended up going through a guardrail, searing off a telephone pole and down a ravine. That, of course, was my traumatic brain injury that it occurred. In addition, I had another accident, and that's how I ended up in the acquired brain injury program. And this was about a year ago, as I was on the freeway and there was a bunch of debris that suddenly came onto the freeway, and I did a sharp left turn, which threw me into a 360 turn. And while I was in the spinning, there were other cars hitting me. And then I ended up going into the center divider, concrete center divider. And so 2008 was quite a while for me. And we'll talk more about that, but that's kind of an overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, let's see, Kathy, would you like to share a little bit about your experience?
I was involved in a domestic violence incident where I was strangled to unconsciousness in 2019. So I have a hypoxic brain injury, just with the lack of oxygen and blood flow to my brain.
Thank you for sharing very much. Maddie, how about you?
Good morning. So I was in a car accident. I was driving home with my best friend at the time. And I was pulling off of a back road onto a major highway in my town, and I was T-boned. The driver that had T-boned me was going over 70 miles an hour, and I was airlifted, and I broke both sides of my skull, so I have a traumatic brain injury from that, and I was in a coma for 3 weeks, I believe. So yeah, it happened in 2020. So this past January was 3 years ago today, or January.
Yeah, thank you, Maddie, for sharing. And Ruthie, how about you?
Hello. What caused my brain injury was actually epilepsy. So I started having seizures right after I turned 21. I was on my way to the beach and I said, something feels wrong. Something doesn't feel right. And I had one. And then after that, they were just coming on very, very frequently. And it just kind of caused a lot of damage. I did lots of appointments, doctor's appointments, emergency rooms, things like that. And I finally got involved with UCI, and I had a left temporal lobe removal for my my surgery to kind of help prevent seizures. And that really did help because since then I have been seizure free for a little over a year now. So yeah, that's what kind of caused my brain injury was the removal of it a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your stories in terms of what caused your injury. Brain injuries can be caused from a wide variety of things. You've heard several different causes here, but things like sports-related injuries, car accidents, obviously, motorcycle accidents, skateboarding accidents, a wide variety of causes. Kim, do you have any other thoughts on causes before we move on to the next question?
No, I think that this was just a nice, showing how many different kinds of brain injuries there are, but they're similar too, and they have some similarities along the way, no matter how they got them. So we have a lot of individuals with strokes and aneurysms and what we would call the non-traumatic injuries, and then traumatic injuries. So lots of different ways to get brain injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. One statistic or fact that I think is important for people to realize about brain injuries is once a person has a brain injury, Michael indicated that he has had two, it's actually 3 times more likely that a person may get a second injury. And after the second injury, it's even more likely that they could potentially have another injury. So it's important for people to recognize this and to understand what some of the causes are. So thank you again for sharing that information with us. Our second question is, what are some of the brain injury related challenges that you struggle with on a daily basis? Let's see, we'll start with Michael for this one. You're muted, Michael.
Thank you. My challenges really started in 2008. And what happened at that time is my word processing became slower. My word retrieval became a challenge. And as well, something that really was annoying and is annoying to me is my spelling, which is making everything so much slower when I'm trying to communicate on typing, etc. And how that's affected me, it's become essentially much worse from my accident a year ago, and sometimes difficult to maintain conversations with people. And prior to 2008, I did lectures all over the country and other places. And as soon as the 2008 accident occurred, I could not do those any longer. And it really emotionally impacted my life in a big, big way. So that's it.
Thank you for sharing that, Michael. I think we mentioned that one of the things that we talk about in the ABI program is the cognitive component, which is a very important part of this, but the emotional component is extremely important as well. So thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention, Michael. Rona, you're next for this question.
So right after my brain injury, I had a hard time with walking. I knew I could walk, but I forgot how to swing my arms. So I wanted to walk in circles or just hold my hands up. So still today, I have an issue with my balance on a daily basis. If I'm having a bad day, I can't even take anything out of my own cupboard from the top shelf. I have to wait till my husband gets home, because I could fall backwards. Even blow drying my hair, if I close my eyes, I'll fall. Just weird things. But like Michael said, I do have issue with communication. So during the day, I could have an issue with scheduling a bank appointment, communicating myself to someone. I have difficulty with my word retrieval. I'll know what I want to say, but I can't think of the word. And that happens if you're stressed or what have you. Fatigue most of the time, sleep disorders, attention span. Reading is difficult because my eye tracking is off. And that can make me nauseous and dizzy as well. My balance, I have a difficult time driving because looking to my side or the back, I can't really, my perception's off. Light sensitivity, it's hard for me to do any shopping on my own. I really have to plan out my days. If I have something coming up like that, I have to make sure that I get good sleep and I'm rested up and so forth. Noises bother me to the extreme. I do have a problem with depression. A lot of people that are going through this suffer from depression. I never really understood what that was like until this. A difficult time understanding people, processing time and retaining energy. So just everything on your daily basis could be affected. Yeah, that's.
Thank you for sharing. Those are some really important implications for sure. Let's see, Maddie, you're next on the list.
Okay. So some challenges that I have dealt with. I'm going to piggyback off a little of what Rona had said, and Michael with communication. It is very hard when I am tired or fatigued to find the right words or even really say a sentence. And then when I do try and say something else will come out and I won't really mean to have said that. And also sleep has affected my sleep, but prior to my injury, I had sleep issues, but now they are just as bad, if not worse. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Just with these things happen when I get fatigued and then I don't sleep. So it doesn't really work. Mm-hmm. And then also staying on topic is another one. I will just completely bunny trail off of, you could say something about a tree and I could end the conversation talking about, oh, look at my shirt or something like that. It's just communication and staying on topic and word retrieval. Processing speed is iffy, but it's getting better. And my balance, I've also had trouble with. I had to relearn how to walk again. I had to relearn how to talk. I had to relearn how to basically live again. But I'm healing and I'm getting better thanks to the ABI program. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Maddie, for sharing. Really appreciate that. Okay, Ruthie, how about you?
Something that I kind of struggle with a bit after I had surgery was definitely my speech. I had a very difficult time even pronouncing a lot of words with certain letters. I had to see a speech pathologist for quite some time to try to say a sentence that made sense. And I'm having some difficult time spelling still, but that's okay. With something I am working on. Another thing I really struggled with was anxiety, especially going out in the public, with other people, with other lights, and communicating with others. That was something I struggled with a lot. Was just trying to make a sentence that even really made sense. I struggled a lot with headaches. For a while, I couldn't sleep on this side that I had my surgery on, and things like that, I guess. And I'm praying that that is something I worked on too, was I would say things and not realize what I said. It would come in my head and right out my mouth. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Or I'm trying to come up with a word. I'm like, that thing and it's yellow and you can cut off the food part of it, and, corn on the cob. But certain things like that, I did struggle with
Okay.
after surgery.
Thank you for sharing. Kathy, how about you?
A lot of what everybody else has said, communication, definitely word retrieval, and really struggling with the simple things that prior to brain injury we could all do, like laundry. You just it's such a simple thing prior to brain injury, but after brain injury, remembering all the steps it was hard. And finding the right words, and communicating. Self-regulation for me has been a big thing. It's prior to brain injury, I just had they told me I had the patience of Job. And that's something that has significantly changed. And then social interaction is very difficult with all the noises, just a lot of different things that I think we all took for granted prior to brain injury that were part of our everyday activities. Getting up, getting dressed, eating, taking a shower, taking your vitamins. Those are things that you really struggle with right after brain injury. But the ABI program, like everybody else, has tremendously helped us with all of our daily activities and our communications, not only with each other, but with our family.
Thank you for sharing. We really appreciate that. I'm practicing what I preach in the program. I'm taking a few notes, which we call closing the loop. So I can come back and ask a few follow-up questions as I hear what you all have to say. So one thing that I did want to ask as a follow-up question, and Rona, you and I have talked about this, and if other people, have thoughts, I would appreciate that as well. But one of the things, Rona, that you've mentioned is that immediately after your injury, and for a while, you didn't really know that you had a brain injury. You struggled with what we call awareness. And I think that would be something very interesting for the audience to hear about, because as we talk about brain injury awareness for the general public and what it is, your ability to be aware that you're struggling with something, and that lack of awareness, I think, is an important thing for us to bring up. Would you mind sharing, Rona, about that?
Sure. Well, I know that I had issues going on, but no one had talked to me about having a traumatic brain injury. I was seeing different providers, and in the beginning, I wasn't really getting the help that I needed. So I wasn't told I had a brain injury. When I was told that I had a brain injury, it was like I couldn't accept it, not because I didn't want to, but in my head, which I think a lot of other people think about, is that to me, I didn't look like anybody with the brain injury. I always thought of somebody with a brain injury as, well, I wouldn't be able to walk at all. I couldn't talk. I would be paralyzed, something like that. But when I heard at Coastline all these other people saying how they acquired the brain injury, it was very eye-opening to me, because I don't think that the general public really thinks of brain injury with people like us. I mean, I look normal on the outside, but I have, underlying conditions. And I think that a lot of medical providers, I really don't think that they really know what to do with people like us. So they're not told about people like us and the ways that you can acquire a brain injury. And it's not just something like a violent car accident. We've all in class, we're all different stories, and but we're going through it just the same. So
Yeah, thank you. Brain injury is known as the invisible disability, or the invisible injury. And, I think that's very indicative of what you're talking about in terms of for individuals that may have more severe injuries, but physically maybe look the same or be able to move and function from a physical perspective. It's often misunderstood because people don't understand that what has changed is the person's ability to think or to process information or to communicate, as you guys have all shared. So thank you, Rona, for sharing that. I know that we had talked about that before, and I wanted to make sure that was something that we could get out to the general public. So thank you. Any other thoughts on that before we move on to the next question? Yeah, go ahead. Rona. Oh, Mike, go ahead, Rona, and then Michael.
I'm sorry, I just forgot to mention too, which we do that, I get off track. When I was saying that I couldn't accept it after I was told I had a brain injury, also for me, and I'm not sure if other people, I'm sure I can't be the only one, but I felt like for me to verbally say I had a brain injury was taking it away from somebody else who I felt was a true brain injury. So I once I found this class, this program, it was I felt so much better because I'm with people like me. So I just wanted to say that too.
Okay, thank you. Michael, go ahead.
As Rona was talking, I'm thinking about the whole process you have taught us about learning, and you don't know what you don't know. And it wasn't until my brother, who's in the psychology field, back in 2008, he says, you had a brain injury, a traumatic brain injury, etc. And I just was in denial. As much as I was having a lot of difficulties, that was a scary word to me, and I just didn't want to accept it. And it wasn't until my recent accident that it was validated to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you, Michael, for sharing. Maddie, go ahead.
Something I would like the public to know about our or someone that you meet that has a brain injury is to please be patient with us, because even though we are pausing in the middle of sentences or something like that, we know what we're going to say. We just need a second to get the words out, because if you interrupt us, this happens a lot with me. If you interrupt us, we will just either bunny trail off of what you said or just completely forget what was important to us. So that's why we were talking. And so please just be patient with us, because we don't always say, oh yes, da 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 da, because we need time, pretty much.
Yeah, well said, Maddie. Thank you. I think there might be a question in the chat. I'm not sure. Erica, do we have a question at this point?
Michelle, Brian Langley raised his hand, so I think he has a question.
Okay, he can write it in the chat, I think. I think that's the best place to put questions. So Brian or anyone in the audience, if you have a question, please feel free to type it up in the chat, and Erica she's monitoring the chat for us so that we can be sure to try to answer as many questions as we can. Thank you guys very much for that. I think that's so helpful and really provides a lot of insights to those watching. Our next question, Maddie sort of started us off with it, but I'll ask it now. What would you like the general public to know about brain injury? And Maddie, I think your comment on this area is mimicked by everybody everywhere that I know of that has a brain injury, is, just providing the opportunity and the patience to let a person get their thoughts out. So thank you so much for that. And we'll come back around to you if you have another thought as well. But let's start with Ruthie on this question.
Something that I know that the ABI program has helped us with tremendously is, and my favorite term is always my little life hacks, but things that it's nice to join in a group of people where we all struggle with things that are very similar. And, some like we're not alone with it. And that is something I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I belong here because I never had a real, like, I didn't have a brain injury. Mine's missing. Like, how is that considered an injury? And with going to the ABI program, and I think one of the top things it has helped me with a lot is the speech, mainly with others. And because something I always wanted to do was get back into, what we like to say, my old life, which was definitely going back to work and trying to get your driver's license back and getting back into the speech that I used to have and things like that. And in the beginning of time, I remember I was very upset and angry because I was like, this is going to take so much time, and who can relate to me? Who else has these? And so joining this program where we all can relate to each other and we all try to help each other and we're patient. That is the number one thing, is so many people lose patience. It's, nowadays everyone is always in a hurry. And that's just something that we need to try to relax on and take a deep breath and just try to focus on the one thing that you need to focus on. Don't get distracted by a bunch of others or feel down or anything like that. And so the ABI program is always like a safe place for me, something where I can always just open up. And if I have anything going on with life or, at home or anything, I always felt like I can talk about it and be very open. And between all of the other students who like to give us advice and help in different ways, and even, the teachers who we can speak with after class and talk about other things, even if we want to keep it more on the private side and need more like a therapy type session. And I could not be more thankful for that. I felt very lost and out of control after my brain injury. I'm like, nothing's in my hands. I can't control anything anymore. I have no transportation. I have no way to do anything. I can't make my own appointments. I didn't even remember the medicine I was taking. So I definitely have come a very long way after joining the program.
Thank you, Ruthie. I appreciate that. And I think, one of the things that you're mentioning is sort of the camaraderie, the having people around that understand and you can relate to, and that's something that's really important and something that you get from the ABI program, but it's also something really important that the general public should know, and other brain injury survivors, that if you're not part of some kind of group or where you have support from other individuals that are also dealing with brain injury, that, that's a really good idea, and it can really help in a lot of different ways. Kathy, you're next on the list. What would you like the general public to know about brain injury?
I think Maddie kind of said it all. Just educate yourself on brain injury. It happens to many people of all walks of life, all ages, from children to people who are in their 100 years old. And to be kind and patient, and just remember that our brain is kind of like a computer processor, like on your phone. So if you break your phone, you can always go buy another one because it's slow and it doesn't retrieve your contacts or work your apps. But our brains, we can't buy a new brain. So we have to learn new strategies in order to learn to communicate. And it takes time. And our processor is just slow. And my other analogy is just that my brain kind of is like if you tell a really good joke with a punchline and everybody is laughing, I'm still processing that. And you may be on joke 3, and then I finally figured out what the punchline is, and I'm laughing with the punchline of number 3. So just be patient, and don't name call. Don't say mean things. We're not dumb. We're not stupid. We're not ignorant. We just process the information that the world gives us a little bit slower. And it takes a little bit longer to get it out, but it's all there. It's just at a slower rate.
Yeah. Excuse me. Thank you, Kathy. Michael, we'll go to you. I see your hand, Ruthie. So let's get Michael and Maddie in, and then we'll come back to you. Is that okay? Perfect. Go ahead, Michael. So we're on the question, what would you like the general public to know about brain injury?
Well, in listening to everybody, it makes me feel good that I'm not alone in my pondering my situation. But I think I would like the public to know that we, as much as our deficits can be very apparent, we are still high functioning human beings. And I think this is something that I would just ask to not be judged, and that as much as I am disabled, as we've been talking about today, I am still, gosh, I don't know how else to say it. I'm still a member of the human race and society, and would just ask for your acceptance.
Really well said, Michael. I hear that from so many people, that respect and recognition and acknowledgement is so important. Let's see, Maddie, go ahead, and if you have a comment about this question.
I don't really have a comment since I kind of already said it on accident.
That's okay.
But to also piggyback off of what Michael said, to and everyone pretty much, is to just be kind. And even though some people aren't kind, there's kind people out there. You just have to be patient and accept that the next person that you meet isn't going to be exactly like you. That person can have a disability too. You never know. It's invisible. So.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Ruthie, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, something that I forgot to mention was something that we do get categorized as how others view us is that we're part of the ID group. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Individuals with intellectual disabilities?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is something that my mother, that's her type of work. And One of the coworkers asked her if I was going to join that program, like if I'm going to become one of the part of that. And that's the difference, is our type of brain injuries are not a part of the ID program. That's separate, and we can relate to them in many ways and vice versa, but it is a little different, and we are not a part of that. And that's okay, but it is a little different, and we were not technically born with that. And we have things that just are a little bit different with our brains. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you, Ruthie. That I think is really important. We are the acquired brain injury program for a reason. These are individuals that acquire a brain injury from some kind of traumatic or non-traumatic event, as Kim mentioned earlier. And most of our students had their injuries, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and longer than that. So they've had an entire life experience that has been sort of stopped in its tracks. And so that's a big distinction. Thank you, Ruthie, for that. Go ahead, Rona.
Sorry, real quickly. I know that sometimes can be a big issue is because we're calling it which is true, it's an invisible, oftentimes, injury. We look normal on the outside, or we look the same on the outside, but we've changed a little on the inside. You can't see. But I know that there's friends and even family members who don't understand. And sometimes they'll think that you're exaggerating, that they don't understand it, so they don't really believe you. How can it be that bad? Just being overly tired, and we could make plans. Yeah, I want to go. And then last minute, we're like, we can't do it. So I just ask that, like we're talking about patience, if people could just hear us, try to understand, and be patient with us. And just because it doesn't look like anything's wrong on the outside, what we're saying that is going on really is going on. So if you could just, give us that understanding.
Yeah, good. Those are all really great things for the general public to realize about brain injury. So thank you for sharing, Erica.
Michelle,
Yeah.
Lisa Yates has a question in the chat. She likes to know if Alzheimer is considered an ABI, and if you have any students in your program who are managing this challenge.
Good question. Kim, you want to take that? I'm happy to, but
Alzheimer's is definitely related to the brain, but that is what's considered a progressive injury. And none of our students have a progressive injury. They've had an injury, like they've talked about, a car accident. They had an event, and they have basically stabilized, and then we help them kind of go as far as they can possibly go with compensation strategies and move forward. Unfortunately, we don't have students in our program because it's a very different profile and different needs. Not every program can meet everybody's needs, and we do not have students with dementia. Any kind of dementia is not what we focus on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Jacqueline Russell Garcia also would like to ask if anyone experiences additional deficits as time went on.
Anyone? Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I mean, most of you guys have talked about when you've come into the program that you thought about, wow, I just have memory problems, or I just have an attention problem. And the longer that you're in the program, you realize, wow, there's more stuff going on than I thought. That's one of the things that comes to mind with that question.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody.
I think one other thing, and you guys please feel free to answer. I think one other thing is that oftentimes after the injury, people tend to isolate and they don't do a lot of things. And so as a result of that, you don't really see where some of your challenges are. Memory may be a very obvious challenge, but some of the other challenges in decision making or problem solving may not be as obvious because either you're not in a situation where you are making those kinds of, or needing those kinds of skills, and or your family members may have taken over some of those skills because of the challenges that you're having after the injury. So Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I struggle with isolation, and part of that has to do, and I've shared this with you and Kim, and that has to do with being very self-conscious of my deficits. And so with that, when I am interacting with people, I'm kind of watching myself, which, it detracts from, sometimes a really cool and rich conversation because I'm just like this the whole time. And so anyways, I find myself wanting to just isolate, which is not good for many reasons, of which you all know. But I need to be out there all the more, getting into conversations and practicing and doing all that kind of stuff. So you used that word and made sense to me.
Thank you, Michael. Maddie?
I, just like I have done this whole time, I want to piggyback off of what Michael said. I have been, when you get, I don't know if that's the correct term, but when you designate a brain injury, your life takes not just a 180 but a 360 turn. There will be people that don't want to talk to you anymore. You will lose tons of friends. My accident had happened when I was going into my senior year, and my senior year, pretty much the only people I was friends with were teachers. And that was really hard for me just because I have not really hung out with people the past 3 years that I have had my brain injury. I mean, I have here and there, but I don't have a steady best friend. Just self-isolation is one of the main things that has happened, just because that's how I'm wired now. And so, yeah, I'm just rambling now, but I can piggyback off of the self-isolation. And I don't want to self-isolate, but when it comes, when I have plans or something, I won't want to go, and my family will just say, "Oh, let's go," and I'll get ready and stuff, and I just will want to stay home. I don't want to do anything. I just want to isolate and stuff like that. So it's probably, when that happens, it's smart to kind of pull us out, but it's also not smart just because of if we have a headache or if we are really fatigued and we can't get our words out. So, yeah.
No, very, very well said. Thank you. So we have about 9 minutes left. And so I'm going to combine our last two questions, which have to do with the ABI program. And then at the very end, I'll just say it now. So for those of you that are not familiar with the ABI program, we're actually located through Coastline Community College. We have a facility in Newport Beach, California, which is our our actual location, but our program has moved to the Zoom environment as a result of COVID. So for the last 3 years or so, we've been in Zoom. And there's been some very interesting things, I think. Kim and I have talked about this, some really interesting benefits to the Zoom environment. It would be great to be together as well, but we've been very amazed at the impact that Zoom has had. In terms of people not having to drive or take a public transportation for an hour or two or longer to get to a facility. And what you're seeing here, of course, is a Zoom webinar. And so this is very much like what we have in class, only we present materials and information, we share our screens and that sort of thing. And then we have discussions very much like this. So we're very excited about our program, very proud of our program. And so having said that, let's hear what the students have to say about that. So can you give those of you that are in the program, would you mind sharing a little bit about what role maybe Coastline has played or the ABI program has played, and what you're taking away from the program that you can use in your everyday life? Okay, and I have Kathy, you as our starter for this question.
Wow, it's a long list. First of all, the program, and I'm gonna get emotional. The program has given me my voice back. It's given me a safe community to grow and learn and learn the strategies that I need to be effective in my daily activities, like doing the laundry, interacting with people. It has helped me with my conversation skills and word retrieval by teaching me how to have self-confidence and advocate for myself, and just having the support of all of my classmates. I'm so sorry. And teachers, learning how to be mindful and fail forward. I journal a lot. I take every little success that I make and celebrate it because it's a big deal. The most recent thing I did was I traveled home to Texas, where all of my things happened. And without Kim and Michelle and my fellow classmates and all the things that we've learned and practiced, learning how to be mindful and learn how to self-regulate, which I'm not doing really good right now. But crying is part of my brain injury. It's being emotional. I was not this way before. I was a suck it up buttercup girl. And that's part of my brain injury, is the lack of emotional control. But being in the ABI program and learning all the skills to go out and try, and even if it doesn't work out the way that I wanted it to, I can learn from that. And instead of beating myself up, I take the lessons that I've learned and learn that maybe I shouldn't do that next time, and do it again and try it another way. So just, I can't all the executive function skills, decision-making, communication skills, setting goals, self-regulation, self-confidence, speaking up for myself, and all the support and the love from the community within the program. I struggled medically because nobody listened to me until I sent my application to the program. I kept telling people something is wrong with my brain. My family knew something was wrong because I couldn't do the simple functions that I did before. And now I can have a conversation. I can, I just successfully went out to lunch with my girlfriend for the first time since 2019. So the program changes lives. It gives you hope and unconditional love and support.
Thank you, Kathy. That's very sweet. We are very proud of you. Okay, let's see who is next on our list. I'm going to go with Michael real quick.
Well, as Kathy was talking, I certainly got emotional because I can relate to everything you're sharing. This is a safe place for me. I'm not going to be judged. I'm only going to be encouraged, supported, and validated. And I don't know. But something I wasn't expecting coming into the program was so much help in developing or relearning life skills. And that's been really important for me. And Kathy kind of alluded to it, these basic things like decision making and problem solving and time management and all kinds of stuff. It's not just the surface of those, but really a whole new structure and going really deep in those that has it's really been nice and just amazed me. So I look forward to getting into class because I know, and this is the final thing I want to say about one of the things I thought about is when I go into class, it could be Kim's or Michelle's, I know that my brain is going to be stretched. And that's really important to me right now, to be challenged in that way. So anyway.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. We've got another minute, so we're running out of time, but hopefully people will hold out for just a couple more minutes. We have a few more comments from people, and then we'll thank everyone. So Rona, you're next.
You're muted.
There we go. So I know Kathy and Michael, that was great because I know we all relate, and ditto on everything you said. I think the biggest thing I have learned being here for me, I learned so much about myself. I know I've mentioned this to Kim and Michelle and all my classmates that I didn't even realize things were going on with me. And when we're talking and I'm listening, going, oh my gosh, I do that. Oh my gosh. So I've learned about myself, and in learning things, the life skills that they give us, that you, Kim and Michelle, have given to us, I'm able to use those every day. And I know my husband's seeing the difference because I will say, okay, I need to stop and think about this. Monitor, evaluate my self-regulation. I really don't need to push myself. I should stop. And he'll go, good job. So thank you for that. And I don't want to take up too much time. But yes, thank you. Everything. Thank you for everything.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ruthie. And then we'll end with you, Maddie. Go ahead, Ruthie.
Yes, you guys I was starting to cry and I had to get myself to stop, but that is very true about our class, and how it is like an outside place for us to go in, and we're not alone, and we feel very comfortable with each other. And I was always very nervous to get back into the responsibility of just the smallest things. Everybody kind of took that away. They're like, no, she can't be held responsible for this. She's not allowed to do this. And that was scary, was stepping back into that. And you guys definitely have given me the confidence and the encouragement to do so. And I could not be more thankful. And the fact that our class has just given us the strength and the encouragement and the patience. And that's the thing, is it's definitely the patience for us for everything going on. We are always very, we're always very supportive of each other. And we take the time for that. And even taking the extra few minutes for us to tell our stories, it like this, it's the simple things like we appreciate. And
Thank
has
you
helped. Thank
so
you.
much. Maddie?
Well, everyone pretty much said what I was gonna say.
That's what happens when you're the last one on the list, huh?
I guess so, but I took the first question, this past question, this past time, I mean. But to kind of, I don't think anyone has said this, but even though the program is really helpful and is a safe space for us all to come to, this program has helped me get to whatever my new normal looks like, because I will never be the person that I was before my accident. And this program has also helped me grieve the person that we have lost, because it's not just my family that is grieving the friend, the sister, the daughter, the niece that they lost. It's also me. And this program has helped with that incredibly. And so with my goals and just working on my memory and communication, and I wrote it down, pocket phrases. That is the number one thing that Miss Kim has taught us, and that I will take with me, is being aware when you can't do something, you speak up about it and you say, well, I'm having a difficult time retrieving my words, or something like that. So yes, that is what this program has helped me with most. And also lifelong friends. I have lifelong friends that I know I don't really have to meet them face to face, but I know they will still and always love and care about me because I relate to them and I know them. So, yeah.
Really well said. Thank you guys so much for your honesty and everything that you've shared with us today. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you to the audience for participating. We hope that this event has helped develop a little bit of awareness on your side in terms of brain injury and what some of the implications are. So thank you very much. We very much appreciate it. And I hope that we get to do more of these things in the future, because I think this has just been really great. So thank you. Go ahead.
Michelle, I'm going to interrupt real quick.
Oh,
There's
Lisa.
quite a few messages in the chat that we haven't been able to address. How do you want to handle that?
We can certainly hang here for a few minutes if people are willing to. We're recording it. So I know not everyone can stay. Some people have had to leave already, but we're happy to hang out. Erica, do you want to share what some of the
There were a few more questions. Kristen wanted to know what kind of brain injury medical help do the students which wish they had received but did not? And how is Coastline's program different from cognitive rehab?
Those are too big. So was there some kind of medical assistance that, let's see, I don't see the question here. What kind of brain injury medical help do the students wish they had received but didn't? So was there something that, Kathy, you're smiling, so let's start with you.
I wish that the medical community, and the law enforcement community and the justice community were educated in the effects of the similar things between a brain injury and domestic violence. Because PTSD, there's a lot of overlap with symptoms. But what I wish the medical community had done is actually listen to me early on. I think that it would have been so much better for my recovery to have gotten some help early on instead of having to discover it on my own. So I always want education. I want the medical community to be more educated and aware of the similarities in symptoms and listened. I didn't have cognitive rehab, so I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I think those are great thoughts. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Jennifer Rupert also is asking, are there medications that any of you take that can assist you with some of the struggles with memory, processing, etc.?
So I'm going to jump. Oh, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, I had seen that question. I think that there are some stimulants that certain students take, like Adderall and other things, but we're pretty careful and to make sure that we don't give out medical advice. We don't make recommendations about medication, things like that. In our program, students may share what they're taking, but once again, you always have to go back. My big suggestion is find a neurologist or a physiatrist, that's a doctor of rehabilitation medicine, that really knows brain injury. And you can contact us and we can help you find a doctor possibly in your area, because not every neurologist knows brain injury. And then you really depend on that doctor and for recommendations on medications. But nothing is going to cure a memory or attention issue. But there are some things out there that our students are taking. So,
yeah. Any other questions, Erica?
I think you have covered everything. A lot of good comments, and I will just read one from Karen. Thank you all for sharing your experiences and challenges living with a brain injury and educating me. I applaud the support and successes you found by being part of the ABI program. You are all so strong. And a lot of other ones that are amazing. If you can read them, I encourage you to do so.
That's great. Well, this is being recorded, so we will definitely grab some of the chat information. You can certainly reach out to the ABI program. You can reach out, I think it's, Erica, is it special programs at coastline.edu is the email that you can send questions and information to. We will be sending out a thank you to everyone. And so if you'd like to get on our mailing list, we'll send a link to the mailing list so that you can do that as well. But thank you so much for your time and for your interest in what we're doing. Thanks, Nick, for putting that in there. Thank you so much for your time and for your interest in learning more about brain injury. And thank you guys for the panelists for just your amazing answers.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for a greater experience. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone, and please keep in touch with the ABI program.
Thank you, guys. You're
Thank you,
amazing.
everybody.
Bye.